now. I'm joined by Michael Fortune, and we haven't spoken to Michael since November of last year. He joins me, local historian. Morning to you, Michael. How are you?
Good morning, Alan. How are you doing?
Right, watching a lot of archive footage of World War II at the moment, and again, a very interesting artefact has emerged. You mentioned this to me before. It's the Éire sign, which would have been very important in World War II, and it's Cahore. So tell me more, Michael. What has been discovered?
Yeah, it's the first in Wexford. It's been lying on. It's been covered up since, I suppose, since the mid 1940s. There were lookout posts around the coast of Wexford and around the coast of Ireland, but they also had a little. They were very big Éire signs with a corresponding number. I suppose they were put there to alert Allied pilots to the location in Ireland where they were flying over in Ireland, and to alert them that they were flying over neutral Ireland. Now the thing was, they survived on the west coast, but very few survived along the east coast from Louth down to Wexford. Now we had, I'm trying to figure out, we had 7 of them in County Wexford, but there was no memory, Alan. People didn't talk about it. I grew up near Cahore, and people didn't know about it. Like, my own grandmother worked close in Cahore Castle, close by where the one in Cahore was, but she'd never ever spoke about it. So people didn't know about him. But in July there was a man called Ozzie Kelly. He works with the Air Corps from up near Gore. He sent me a photograph of an aerial shot of the Éire sign in Cahore. So I said, it has to be there. So I was away on holidays at the time, and I came back and had a look with the little one and couldn't find it. So last week there's a friend of mine, an archaeologist, Barry Lacey, said, come on, we'll have another go, see if we can find it. So Thursday night, put out the call on Facebook, and for it to go out on Saturday morning. Me and Barry were going to go anyway, and sure, Saturday morning turned up miserable. But there was about 10, 15 people turned up, young and old, and within about an hour of prodding around, on the side of the cliff in Cahore, here turned up the stones for number 11. So it's there, and we had it. We dug back some of the sods, and some of the whitewash that was on the stones is still there. The Éire sign, you can see the stones there as well. It's a tricky enough site because it's at an angle. But we were delighted, absolutely delighted. Couldn't believe it.
And you say it was predominantly for Allied pilots flying over neutral Ireland.
Yeah, Ozzy told me that it was I think it was the Americans they were losing planes when they were coming over towards England and Scotland and Wales, and so they asked for it to be put up. Now I think it was I'm looking at, I wouldn't be a military historian now, but people are saying it's 42, 43 where it was a period when they were put up. Now they're big. You're not talking small. You've probably seen photographs.
I saw the photograph of it.
Yeah. But there's a guy called Conor Corbett up in Antrim. He'd set up a thing called Airspace. He kind of got the whole thing going around the country, and the ones on the west coast were there. So you're talking 20, 30 foot the length of them, and it could be maybe 5 foot wide, like the letter. So Cahore had Éire, and they had a number 11, and lucky the Ballygart lads got an easy job because they got 2 1s, which made life easy for us, for all of us. And what's special about the one in Cahore was the fact that the boys actually made a smaller one first, and the lads must have come down and said, no lads, that's too small, you have to do the bigger one. So they did the big one. So it's like getting an old coin from years ago with a flaw on it, which is kind of exciting for us because we've got an unusual take on it. The one in Kilmichael, I'm fairly definite is there. That's north. The records are gone. We don't have a photograph. The one in Ballyconnegar is gone. That was coastal erosion, got that. But then you've got Greenore, Carnsore, Forlorn, and the Hook. And there's a photograph of it down the Hook, but I think the stones were removed after the war. That's what happened. A lot of people got rid of them, made walls of them, or just pushed them aside. So it's brilliant for Wexford. They found them in Dublin and in Bray, in Wicklow, North Wicklow there. But to get Wexford on it, that's fantastic. There's even a coastal patch. You couldn't make it up. There's a new coastal patch that Wexford County Council have put in, walking along Cahore from the Strand Bar right down to the beach of Cahore South, and just running right along it like it couldn't be made for it.
I mean, we're well aware of the history of the county and the bombing of Campile, etc. But was there ever any altercations in that area? Were there any dogfights over the skies there? Historically, when it comes to World War II, Cahore, did it witness anything of this nature?
It did, and it's funny, I know of 3 World War II songs from County Wexford. One was a man called Jim Hawkins on South of the County, and there's another one up here in Knockrow on the Carlow-Wexford border, and there's another one I think from Campile. So I've always said we were able to write songs, 3 songs, when we weren't involved in the war. Imagine if we were in the war, how many songs we would have had. But there were incidents, like we grew up with, there were stories of dogfights, and there were stories of people. Now this is funny, people said they heard, the older people said, you could hear the explosion explosions. They said New Wales or England were getting a hammer because you could hear the explosions. Now, you'd always take that with a pinch of salt. But this man Ozzy sent me on the logbooks from Cahore, and I spent Sunday going through them. It's only over a year. They covered 1 year, the day-by-day accounts. Now, the boys were looking out very little for most of the time. But a few accounts, there's an account of a bit of a skirmish, dogfight, bursts of fire, and there were a couple of accounts of hearing explosions. Now, I was trying to tie the dates in with bombing raids over in Wales, whether they make sense. But I shared it on the Macklemore's Facebook page. And
so are you talking about Spitfires and Hurricanes and Messerschmitts above the skies of Cahore?
There's completely, yeah. And there's a Spitfire. Here's the great thing. There's a Polish pilot in a Spitfire crash up near Wells. We have his name. We have his photograph. I think it could be a relation to mine. I actually pulled him out of the plane. I'm trying to figure out. There was another Hurricane crashed up near Kilmuckridge as well, up near in Wells of near the Walshes of the island. An English pilot, Paul or Peter Mayhew. So there were loads of incidents, but they were so local that then they just became lost. Things become lost very quickly. And there was another bomber crashed there in Killarney, an American one, and I'm sure there's around the county as well. Tecumseh was the same. There was a German Henkel crashed into White Mountain. The 4 pilots were killed in that. I only just put up recently. There was a woman I recorded in Kilmuckridge. She's 96. Betty Young is her name, or Betty Ryan, and she remembers 2 young Germans, 18 and 19, coming at Ballinamona between Blackwater and Kilmuckridge, and the local priest actually fathered Ned Wheeler. He was a footballer for Wexford. He played for the Wexford team that played the one that was the 3 in a row in football. And he basically went down. They came in a dinghy, their hands up. This is the story she had, and she said, "Put the hands down, boys." And he brought him home, and he put him up in the bed for the night. And apparently, the local parish priest got cranky with him. But this woman remembers seeing the army come down from the Cahore, taking the 2 young Germans away, and she also had Bet's still alive, and she said that the father Wheeler was sent a watch after the war by one of the families of one of the young German pilots, because they went back home and after the war was over. So the stories are there. The stories are there, Alan. But it's
fascinating.
This I suppose for us to touch the stones of the day was gorgeous.
Okay, I have to leave it for the moment, Michael. If people want to just go to your Facebook page and see this sign, this Éire sign, it's well worth checking out. Just direct them towards it, will you?
Yeah, I will. We've set up a new page, but if you go to Michael Fortune or the Macklemore's, just a local page for Ballygarth, Kilmuckridge, that area of Wexford, Michael Fortune on Facebook, you'll find it. And just keep an eye out. What we're going to do is we're going to actually get a team of us together. So it's all unfolded in front of us. A team of us together to clear it off and to get the whole thing reinstated and get it back up and running. So it's brilliant. It's great news for Wexford. It's great news for Cahore in particular.
A good story. Thanks, Michael. Talk to you soon. Michael Fortune there. Very interesting story, riveting, and even more riveting just to hear about those dogfights that took place over the skies of Cahore.